Welcome in, everybody. It's great to have you here today. Thanks for watching another episode and listening to the Brett Allen Show. Today, I'm very excited. I've been looking forward to this conversation. We're chatting with the multi-talented actor, just all around hysterical, Mo Collins. Thank you so much for your time.
Glad to be here.
Well, I've been following you on social media and I see you've been visiting family and doing all of those fun things. I know you're busy quite regularly and all the time, but is it nice to kind of just sort of take a break from being you, so to speak, and just kind of be able to hang out and visit family and things like that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's always great to be with family. And fact of the matter is, I was happy to have something to do. I'm not busy right now. Not busy at all. So yeah, it was great. I mean, you know, even my son was able to come, and so it was really, really, really a special time, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, when you're visiting family and things like that, do they sort of, what version of you do they get? Do they get just the normal, this is me, or is there like some sort of expectation to kind of be like the version that people see, like maybe on
No,
television or anything like that? I always find that curious.
no, I'm me. You know, I mean, I suppose like anybody, doesn't have to be an actor. You go meet with your family and you maybe resort to some family ways. I mean, families have a language together, right? Like
Yeah.
you have your own kind of personal way of being together. So, you know, just jump right back into that. They don't expect me to, I'm not the funny one there. I'm actually probably more the quiet one, really.
Yeah, I find that interesting. And I asked that question because I had your co-star on a couple years ago, Aries, and we were
Oh,
talking about, yeah, we had a very good conversation. One of the most honestly fascinating people I've ever spoken to. Just and that's why I asked that question, because he said something interesting, kind of hearkening back to that conversation of when he is with family and is around people, they sort of have this level of expectation. You know what I'm saying?
oh,
Of,
wow.
yeah, it's interesting. And that's why I asked that question, because I talk to a lot of actors and comedians and people who just kind of live in this world that's so different than what most people know about. And so there's sometimes, even as journalists, I've had people say, I apologize if I didn't meet, your expectations of being funny or things like that. And I think the real personality is always great, because people want to get to know you as an individual. You know what I mean? If that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, if my family has expectations, you'd have to ask them. It's not something I see from them, and it's certainly not something that I do. I don't feel it. I'm just myself. But I mean, I'm myself around. I'm just myself, unless I'm playing a role.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's great. I appreciate your honesty in that, because again, it's just getting to talk to individuals like yourself. I just find it fascinating because, again, your world is so different and really just not what people would expect. I'm very curious, what sort of interested you in becoming an actor or pursuing the life that you did? Was there like a moment that you kind of knew this was something that you wanted to do, or was it sort of a progression over time?
I guess it was a progression. I mean, in eighth grade, I learned how to do improv through Mr. Hermiting, and it was something that I loved. And then, sort of, when I was waffling with my life, you know, around 19, I took classes at Dudley Riggs, and then I got into the touring company, and then there was a check in my hand, and it's like, okay, this is getting paid to do what I love to do. That's pretty cool. And then I got an agent, and I got the first thing I auditioned for, and it's like, this is what I do.
Yeah, I love it. So then you were working and doing different things. And then at what point did Mad TV come along for you? Was that sort of where?
It was in 98. I had moved out to LA, and because I decided to go for it, you know, Minneapolis, just, I realized that it just wasn't enough. You know, I could keep working there, but that trajectory from a straight line of working ends up starting to tilt downward, you know, as far as a life trajectory of what you want to do. I wanted to test myself.
Yeah, and just do something different that you had done before.
I want to see how far I could go. I
Yeah,
wanted to do more. It's like I knew I had more.
yeah, I love that. I think that's great. And that's a good takeaway, I think, for people watching and listening is I think we always have to constantly be challenging ourselves, right? And doing
Yeah.
more
And
than what
my
we're used
my
to.
son was 2 years old at the time, and that was actually, it seems a little crazy, but that was a big part of the decision to move, to go after my dreams, because if I'm not leading by example for my son, um I don't know, what do I become, some sort of resentful mother up in Minnesota then, so the best thing I could do was show him that you go for your dreams, you go for who you are and what you love.
Yeah, I'm very curious also in the fact that when you get to that part of your life and your career and you're going after that, was at the time, I mean, Mad TV was huge. It was kind of like the biggest thing that was on television at the time. And you get it.
What polls were you looking at? What charts were you looking at?
Well, at least I feel that way. I mean,
Okay.
I was
To our
always a
fans, to our fans, but to the rest of the world, we flew under the radar.
yeah, well, that was another, and I'll get to that in a second because Ari said something very similar.
Yeah.
Had it gotten the attention that, say, like a Saturday Night Live got or
Yeah.
something like
I'd
that,
be Molly Shannon right now.
his career would be much different. He's the
I'd be
people
Kristen
champ.
Wiig.
He's the
I,
people's champ on paper. But then when it comes to everybody else, it's kind of interesting. Well, and I don't say that to gaslight or anything like that, but I think to the dedicated fans, it was a big show,
oh,
huge.
100%. Our fans are the reason that we stayed on the air as long as we did. That's why. That's what fandom can do.
Yeah, I think, and that is sort of a testimony to the fact that when you get people behind, a show, even now shows that go off the air and then somehow
Mm-hmm.
come back on. A perfect
Totally.
example is the Orville. It was on
Yep.
Fox for a long time. It goes off the air, but the
Yeah.
power of the people get it back onto television and
Yeah.
then get it over to Hulu. And now it's off again. Apparently it's, there's no season 4 in the future. And we talked to a lot of people about that. So I'll switch gears here a little bit then and talk about that, because at that time you're doing this show. Did you know if you were going to be able to get another season, or how, or was it just a week to week thing that, sort of determined?
Well, you'd find out after you'd completed a season. We found out in the spring when it was sort of the upfronts time, when stations were announcing shows that are canceled and shows that they're picking up. So that's when we would find out that we still had a job, basically. But yeah, I wouldn't say that there was this confidence every spring.
Yeah,
Definitely,
I mean,
definitely
imagine
not.
it.
No, we knew that, we always called ourselves the bastard child of Fox, because
Okay.
we were just, they ignored us, which was great. I mean, they had some influence on, material and things. They'd send their people and say, well, you can't say this word or you can't do that. But because they didn't pay too much attention, we just kind of got to keep going along. It's the way we wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly got to do things that probably other sketch shows that were at the time. I think Saturday Night Live obviously was probably the big one.
Yeah.
Couldn't do, you know what I'm saying? Which made the show to me fascinating and sort of interesting, because you got to tackle different things that, but you were kind
Right.
of
Well, we
saying the
also
things that people thought.
we're far more urban show too, and at that time, it's sort of like, I mean, people at Fox probably wouldn't have even known how to really have that conversation, because what's a white Rupert Murdoch gonna have to say about us doing this wonderful urban material without getting himself in trouble. So they let us
Yeah.
do our thing.
Yeah, I love that. And it worked to your advantage,
Yeah.
obviously, because you guys went on for so long. And then I think even at one point there was an attempt at reviving the show.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it got the legs that it did, that yours had, obviously.
No, you can't do it. I knew it probably wasn't going to work, just simply because you can't do you can't do Mad TV on the CW. We were a late night Fox show.
Yeah.
You cannot, you literally, you just cannot do what we were doing on a CW show. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Fox, you can get away with a little bit more.
Yeah, the reason people wanted it back was because they wanted us back.
Yeah.
That's why it's nostalgia they were calling for, which thank you, YouTube. It's still out there to a
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah, it is. You can literally go on there. I was going on there just the other day looking at your old sketch clips and things like that, and all these characters and things that you created and that sort of thing. And it just, again, you just can't really hold a candle to it doing anything else because it was so different.
Yeah, and it was of the time too. It
Yeah.
was definitely of the time, because if we're looking back, and I guess that HBO Max has, I don't know, all the seasons on. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I know I'm not making a penny off of that, so I don't know what's going on. But um, it's I would bet that they're censoring or even removing some sketches, because a lot of the material that we did then really kind of can't get away with now.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's that's the other thing that I find fascinating is that, the topics that you did cover and some of the sketches that you did,
Yeah.
it's like there's always this conversation, just as an example, like, we'd love to get The Office back, or we would love to get this back or that back. And a lot of the cast would say something similar in the sense like, I don't think we could do some of the things that we did then because it just wouldn't land in, especially in today's culture with entertainment
Yeah.
in the industry, right?
Everything has its season, you know? I mean, that's just the way it is. And that's how nostalgia is born. There's things we loved in our past and they just cannot be repeated. But they
Yeah.
can be relived in other ways.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, the show definitely, has lived on and there's been a lot of
Sure.
success with it. Yeah. Um, it's interesting because this, again, talking about just your career and the things that you've done and this show in particular, as somebody who was a cast member and a lead on this, when you're putting these things together, these sketches and things like that, is the process similar as far as there's the writer's room and you're putting stuff together and then you put these up in front of an audience to sort of test them out, or how was that
Oh,
process?
well, it starts, you know, pitching in the writers' rooms. That was part of our job too, is to be going in, dipping into the rooms and going, I have an idea, or you have an idea you want me to listen to, and you bounce it around, they write it up, and then we do a table read. And there's a I don't know if I can swear, a shit ton
You're
of,
fine. Yeah, you're
okay,
absolutely fine.
there's a
Yeah.
shit ton of sketches that need to be boiled down to about 10, so there'll be a packet of about, I don't know, 30 sketches.
Wow.
And we do the table read, and we read and we see what is working there, and then that one goes into the next week, then, where you are then rehearsing those sketches that were chosen for the shoot that week. And of course, then it continues to go through its rewriting process, and then there in comes the audience. And of course, some of us were pretty comfortable with improv, so once we had done what, the first pass through as the script called for, then there were a few of us that pretty much just took off the gloves and said, okay, let's play. And the beauty of Mad TV and that is that we allowed, I mean, I always say that Mad TV is actually more live than SNL in terms of the content itself, because like they are beholden to reading their lines off of a chart. They're not even looking at each other. And so we were really in the moment and riding the wave of the audience as well. And then allowing for improv, because then it goes to the editing room, so, but what we had was this wonderful opportunity to just drag the net for gold, comedy gold, while the audience is there. I mean, how lucky are we? But the ones that were pre-taped, then what we would do is during those live nights, they would play back the pre-taped ones all edited together and get a laugh track on it.
Okay.
And then they could also go, you know what, this joke didn't really work at all. And they can still take it out. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think that that's very true. And yeah, SNL, I think obviously they're probably a lot more strict as far as what they might even allow their cast members to do as far as the sketch. If it's not funny or it's not landing, probably just kiboshing it like all together, but you guys really just kind of went for it, like as if it were, I don't know, like a play, I guess, and you just
But it
have the
is.
on. Yeah.
It is. It and it kind of has to be. That's sketch comedy. That's comedy. Comedy is a live thing. It's malleable, and it's a relationship between the performers and the audience. It's all of it. So you try and encapsulate all of that into everything you can before you put it out then to the masses.
Yeah, and if you're doing something and it's funny, you're just leaning into it even more and just leaving it
Yeah,
up to
or
the
if it's
editors.
not funny, really, that's where you're like, okay, the thing is, on shows like Mad TV and SNL, you've got performers that have or should have those chops where it's like, this is not working, and your instincts kick in, and then you find something, you find something. That's what you do. That's the job. Make
Yeah,
it funny.
yeah. And I think that's one thing about improv that I love. Being here in Denver and things, there's a lot
Oh,
of
you're in
that.
Denver. Cool.
Yeah. I was in California for a long time, but moved to Denver. I digress. But there's a lot of sketch comedy. A lot of that is here, improv.
Oh,
And it's fun to go watch it because it's interesting to see you and folks like yourself really just be in the moment. It's like as honest and raw as you can get. It's not like a stand-up comic where, it's polished and you're doing this, you're doing that. And if it's not right, you take out a word here, a word there to make it funny, but to just really be in that moment and just
yeah. I actually
live in
think a
it.
lot of stand-ups do that, because they're very aware. I mean, there are
Yeah,
some that are absolutely, like, the way their jokes are written, they really can't step out of them.
right.
But I kind of think that most stand-ups have that skill and use it to some degree.
Sure. Did you ever think about doing stand-up? Was
I
that
have
some,
done
oh,
stand-up.
you've done some of it,
I've
yeah.
done, yeah, I've headlined, I've got some gigs coming up. Yeah, I love it. I love
Do you
stand-up.
do you prefer that over the improv, or is it
I
just a
just
different,
prefer comedy.
you prefer comedy? Yeah.
I just love performing. I love the relationship between performer and the audience. I
Yeah.
love it.
I mean, there's really, I think it's one of the purest art forms. I love it because it's just fun going into the
Yeah,
clubs or wherever the case might be
it's
and
great.
just having that moment where you get to connect with whoever's performing.
Yeah, it's very healing.
It is, yeah, especially just right now with all the craziness going on. There's nothing
Yeah,
like going somewhere and being able to just let loose for an hour and be able to laugh. And
yeah.
that has to be good for you too as a performer to be able to
Oh,
provide
it's
that.
great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. It's when you're doing shows like this and you're coming into this world, a lot of these characters that we know, did you have that already in the bag when you get there and you audition with that, or are those characters that you created over
For Mad
time
TV, are you
for
talking
Mad
about?
TV? Yeah.
Well, the audition required three characters and three impressions. I was not somebody that had, a closet full of characters ready to go. So I kind of took things I'd done in the past from different, shows I was doing up in Minneapolis, improv kind of things. And I was like, oh, that might work, create 30 seconds out of that. I could do that. That would be good. I auditioned with Lorraine. She was actually my friend Melissa Denton and I. We used to do these two women together. Lorraine used to be part of a duo, and
Okay.
we did these like late night shows in Minneapolis. So I did take her and kind of fill her out for Mad TV purposes. Um, Trina was my dental hygienist growing up. I did her. put 30 seconds together for her. And then I also auditioned with Scotty Girl. And that was very specifically I kind of took this character that I'd done at this dinner theater where I wore these buck teeth. But I created this Wisconsin Packer fan character because Fox had the NFL, and I just thought that might be smart. And what did I do? Then impressions. I think I did Mary Tyler Moore, Cher, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah. But
I love it.
I didn't have that stuff. I just had to I definitely put together an audition.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, when you're not doing this, whether it's sketch or stand up, what other creative outlets do you have? What helps you kind of keep the juices flowing, so to speak?
I'm a painter. I'm an artist, painter, visual. So I do a lot of that. Hang out with my husband because he makes me laugh.
Yes, and he has a podcast too, which is very cool.
Yes.
I had a chance to check that out and heard the episode that you appeared on. So that has to be a lot of fun for you both to be able to work together like that.
Oh, I love when he has me on. It's a great podcast, Zen AF podcast. It's really good. It's, they crack me up, but they also say some very meaningful things, which I love. So fun to watch him do that. But yeah, I don't know. Creatively, I paint.
Yeah, and that's probably fun too because it's a different sort of energy and kind of keeps things going,
Yeah.
In between whether you're on television or you're doing stand up and things like that. Very cool things. It's just been a lot of fun here. One last question. Obviously you've done a lot in your career. You've had a lot of great successes, but was there ever a piece of advice that you were given that sort of helped sustain you and get you through maybe the ups or the downs, as you're taking this as far as you can, as you mentioned earlier on in the conversation?
Oh, God. I don't remember necessarily being told something that really stuck, but I definitely learned things along the way. And those things are, don't take it personally. It's a business of no's.
Yeah.
So get used to it. Be truthful, stick with it. You got to stick with it through the ups and downs. You got to decide it's who you are.
Yeah.
If it ain't who you are, get out. Because it is a brutal business. It's an asshole. So,
Yeah. I've heard that a lot.
The business is an asshole. It just is. And it's not getting any easier as I get older. But you got to just decide that that's who you are through the good and through the bad. And if you really want to act in the business, do a play, write a play, do something on YouTube. There is no excuses anymore. You can do shit anywhere. We've got TikTok, for God's sake. Like, there's no excuses.
Yeah.
You want to perform, you can perform. If you're not, that's on you.
Start a podcast. I mean, it's just literally anything. Yeah. I've heard that said so many times with the, as much choice as we have for content out there. It's crazy, and had TikTok or Instagram or Facebook wholly existed even when Mad TV was on and at its peak, even though
I'd have a different career. I'd have a different career. It's like, we didn't even have YouTube.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. So like, there's no excuse if you're watching or listening to not create content because there's a million different avenues.
Yeah. But the thing you got to stay out is expectations too. You just do the work and whatever happens from it, you can only control so much. You're really but don't expect things to just go brilliantly right away. And then when things do go well, don't expect them to stay there either.
Yeah, you can't chase after the fame dragon or the money.
No.
Because you'll have a very short career, I would imagine.
Yeah, and save your money.
I love it. Yeah,
save your money.
Don't be smart. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I still have a roof over my head, and I'm very, very proud of that when you look at how much of my career I've spent unemployed.
You have a beautiful home just looking at it
Oh,
from this.
thanks.
Yeah, I love it. It's got a very good vibe to it. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Oh, there we go. See, folks, you're getting a little behind the scenes. It's funny, like I've
Fireplace.
gorgeous, and you've got a lot
The
of great.
littlest bar back there. It has all
Yes.
these old albums in it. Yeah, a hutch full of special items.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. That's good. I've heard that said a lot too. Save your money because you
Oh
just don't
yes, save your
know.
money. Save your money, be smart with it.
Well, especially, you don't when you don't expect like I don't want to go into this necessarily, but what a pandemic to happen where literally the entire industry shuts down for over 2 years.
Yeah.
Even the best of the best, which I thought was kind of ironic, were even saying, man, I've got a staff of 300 people that I have to take care of, and when the money's rolling in, you're like, the money's rolling in. But then when the money stops rolling in, I don't know. People don't always have that mindset of just being smart.
No, they don't. They don't. And it's funny, like people think I'm a millionaire.
Really, people think that.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
interesting. Is it
Yeah.
just based on this one persona of Mo Collins that they see on social
I don't
media?
know.
Oh,
I guess because I've been because well, literally, I think just sometimes they just think that because you're an actor, you're rich, which
right. Not always
that
true.
is not true. I mean, shoot, it's like I made $300 on 40-Year-Old Virgin, So that's the reality I live in. Yeah. There's a
It's a
People
career
don't, I
for
mean, A-listers, they get paid. Oh, they
sure.
get paid. So I know there's money out there. Maybe one day I'll get my hands on some.
Well, I think you've had an amazing career. I really do. And
I agree with you. I've
I
had an amazing career.
you've steadily been working and successful for however long. I know we joked earlier about, you're not working right at the moment, but
Nope.
generally speaking, you've been able to somehow be a working actor and performer and do it well, which I think, there's this misconception, as I said earlier, and you just said that people think, it's just like endless amounts of cash and whatever, but it's not always the case. You
No,
just have to be smart.
no. And
Um,
everybody thinks I'm real busy too. And it's like, I haven't worked since November.
yeah.
I'm hurting. It's like I'm right back to that horrible place where actors go where it's like, I don't know if I'll ever work again.
Wow.
I'm getting a few auditions here and there and I like my auditions, but when you're not when you're not in the machine of Hollywood, when they don't see you as a commodity,
Right.
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, and they don't see that in me. People love to work with me. They have great things to say about me, but it's hard for me to find work. That's just how it is. But I'm a tough motherfucker.
You are. I've seen you in other interviews and I've listened to conversations. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you, honestly, Mo, because again, I just, and it might sound strange, but I just find that so interesting. I have an 8 to 5 job. I sell wine. I work from home,
Oh, nice.
yeah. And that's what was part of the reason why I could move. And then I get a little bit from the podcast, not much. Um, but I think that it's just like there's the reality, you know what I'm saying? Going back to the start of our conversation, it's like
Yeah.
there's this misconception of the business. I don't know. I saw, a conversation somebody asked Matt Damon once, do you think teachers should get paid as much as actors? And he said, absolutely not, because actors don't. It depends on the type of actor you're talking about, obviously, but like if the point was is that it's not what people think necessarily. I mean, maybe like you said, of an A-lister, obviously, but the rest of the industry that
Oh,
isn't
yeah. I
necessarily
mean,
part of the machine,
yes.
it's not as such, to put it
No,
mildly.
it's not. And I've accepted that. And at the same time, because I am who I am, I also know, like, any given Sunday, right? Like at any point, the business could say that what she's doing, that character, that one,
Yeah.
raise her up, right? Like put her on that Hollywood pedestal. It could happen. I actually don't really want too much. I'm not big on pedestals, but I just want to do good work.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. I want to do new, interesting characters, whether it's comedy or drama. I just want to tell good stories and do cool characters. Oh, that's all I want to do. And work with great people. Like my favorite thing is being on set,
Yeah.
'cause I'm a good person on set. I love people, the crew, all of it. Like that to me, I love that family scenario. And I want to be a part of a family again.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And inspiring to, for people watching and listening, because we have get a lot of feedback from these conversations. And I think the golden thread that a lot of people take is that, like, you have to do this for the pure joy of doing it. And you have to
Right.
just, you
Which
can't.
should be anything. Like I
Yeah.
feel like, a person should always seek to be spending their day doing what they love, what they feel is their purpose.
Yeah.
This life is quick. It's quick, and if you have a job that doesn't do that, man, find other things outside of your job that do it, whether it's volunteering, hanging out with animals. But God, it's just, life is way too short, and you got to find those things that make you happy. I've learned that because, like I say, I spend most of my time not employed, not acting. So I make sure to fill my life with things that I love and with purpose.
I love it. Very good stuff. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it.